with the Afghan resettlement, we got churches to put up in two of the main Afghan languages, which were Farsi and Dari, that they were welcome. And people stuck it outside their church. And the fun thing for me, there were churches that were near some of the hotels where Afghans were being housed. And I saw Afghans taking selfies of themselves in front of the banner, in front of a church. You know, Muslim people wanting to take a selfie themselves in front of a church because the church was saying they were welcome. So we've made a banner that your church might want to put up. You have to pay for it yourself, totally on you. But all the kind of design work is already done, and you can order it from a guy in Reading because he's down the road from me and he's a nice guy. Other distributors are available, I'm sure, but they're ready to go. Wouldn't it be great if around the nation, Ukrainian people could see, and even your communities could see, that we are for this group of refugees just by putting a simple banner that says, you know, Ukrainian refugees, welcome here. We're glad to see you. We're for you. It's in the Ukrainian language and English. Other languages are also available. So that's in the chat as well. You can make use of that as well. Catherine, I'm loving your background. You've got a Ukrainian soundproof box that you're in. I think that's brilliant. You lead this fantastic charity that my family personally have been supporting because we think what you do is amazing. Number one, what can your church do? Your church could be finding out who's already sponsoring in your church and gathering them together as a team and wrapping around them. I think that's really important. Second thing your church could do is reach out to your wider community. Where I live, that there's already a gathering of potential hosts. They're getting together, they're kind of conspiring, thinking what needs to be done. They were talking with local businesses to see what is it that our community could do. And the church can be at the heart of that, a real catalyst for that kind of support. Third thing you can do is make sure your church is available to your local authority as another resource of support around these refugee families. And you know, getting our own house in order to make sure that, you know, our safeguarding policies are up to spec really matters. I was at the Ukrainian border, and sadly, I heard of so many stories of exploitation and abuse. Whether it was a taxi driver that said, oh, you know, come with me, I'll take you to a safe town. And then halfway through the journey saying, oh, you know, this is going to cost you $300 for just a $20 journey. And in some of the resettlement centers, all the men had been moved out because there was so much sexual abuse going on. So we know children are vulnerable at the best of times, but in the middle of a war, it's even worse. Going to try again with Catherine. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good.
Yay.
Excellent. Well, we're pleased to see you. Catherine, tell us what churches can do to help children transitioning into schools.
Yeah, I'm going to dive straight into some of the details. I think from our experience, and we support refugee children across the country, Ukrainian children arriving are likely to need support with three key things. I'm sure many more, but we'll start with three. One is just getting into school or college. Some of them will be primary school, some of them will be secondary, but don't forget about the kind of further education. We're seeing quite a lot of 16 to 19-year-olds that are likely to be arriving. The second thing is obviously learning English, and the third is the kind of social and emotional learning piece that has been spoken about quite a lot together already today. I think there's three things that churches can do to support with that. So I'm going to outline those really briefly, and I hope that you'll be able to take just a few practical tips away from that. So firstly, churches can do a lot to help support the mainstream system and support entry into the mainstream system. So I would advise churches really simply, at the most basic level, to tell your hosts, the families in your community that are hosting, to plan, to take the time to sit down and help with simple tasks like navigating the online schools admission system, for example. Secondly, I would say in a lot of churches, there's actually quite a lot of existing education expertise. So map that if you can, particularly now whilst you're waiting for people to arrive. What teachers do you have in your congregation? What people do you have working in education for the local authority or in student support services? You might find that there's a real wealth and that these people can provide some kind of internal support to the families that are hosting within your church communities. We've had people do things like sort of how-to workshops for hosting families, like just how to apply for a primary school place or something like that, which you may have the expertise in your church to do already. And thirdly, in supporting the mainstream, building links with the local authority. And that's been mentioned kind of more broadly on safeguarding, but find out who the focal points on education for newly arriving Ukrainian children will be where you are, and what their approach will be, because different cities are planning different things, from full integration into mainstream to setting up kind of supplementary schools specifically for Ukrainian children. So get to grips with that. And then finally, look at what kind of supplementary support you as a church community can provide. And again, start by looking at what you already have. So on this kind of social and emotional learning piece, kids clubs, youth groups, welcome activities for Ukrainian kids in your communities, all of that then goes on to make them feel more able to participate in school because they have met some other kids and they're not then going in on their own. And then the final thing would be kind of English language support that churches can provide. And we've seen some really great and innovative things being set up where churches do kind of weekend English clubs and after school English clubs for the children that are linked to their community. And that's been really effective. If I leave you with final words, it would be that we're going to produce an education welcome pack in Ukrainian, all about introduction to the English education system, and you'll be able to download that for free from our website in a couple of weeks' time.
Fabulous. Thank you, Catherine. Great work you're doing. We're coming into land. We're going to go over just by a couple of minutes because I really want to make sure that Andre is able to pray for us. We've started the day thinking about what's going on in Ukraine, and be fantastic if Andre is able to pray for us. Just a kind of closing thought from me before Andre prays. I have been so encouraged by the church's response, not just for the Ukrainian community, but for Afghans and for Hong Kongers. It was lovely to be in a meeting with the Home Office, and they said, "Oh, look, we need help in 30 locations tomorrow. Where are you guys?" And I was able to say, well, the church is everywhere. We're in every village, we're in every town, we're in every city, and we have a mandate from God to love him, but to love our neighbors. And so Afghan refugees, new arrivals from Hong Kong, Ukrainians, they're all our neighbors. And you know, you could see the penny dropping in the kind of civil servants' minds as we're just contending for the gospel in a really powerful way through practical love and service without strings. You know, we offer this to all, whether they show interest in the Christian faith or not. We are here to bless and encourage those that are arriving. So thank you to all my contributors. You are fabulous. This will be available online afterwards. We're going to send you some more information as we go through. We know the government system can be a little bit bureaucratic, so we're going to try and handhold you through this as best we can. And watch out for a new training resource that we're bringing out in the next few weeks.